So thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys are awesome. Awesome. Thank you. And it's so wonderful to be here to get a chance to talk to you guys. Of course, today as always. I started thinking about this year. I started thinking about, it's almost the new year. It's almost time for us to, to make that transition into the next, that next year. And it's so awesome when we start to think about it. I was thinking to myself, like, it's burning bowl time. And what's different about me this year, this December, than was different from last December? And for all of us, we've got to ask ourselves those questions. What's different? How has my life changed? And for many of us, our lives have changed in wonderful ways, And so this month being this month about principle, I started thinking, like, if we're operating the principles, all of our lives are somehow changing, because this is a wonderful something that we can use. So today I started thinking about what principle am I going to talk about, and I'll tell you the thing that always pops into my mind is, how do we change? How do we grow? How do we learn something? How do we, from 2016 into 2017, how do we make ourselves different? And so we're here and we learn this idea about the power of our thoughts, the power of our words, all of these powers and the principle behind them. And so when we start to think about how it is that we change and what it is that we must do to change, then it means that we have to recognize that our consciousness and our thoughts have power, and they have power to change. Now, it's so interesting because as I started thinking about it, I was like, I want to tell you guys about a movie, but I'm going to do that in just a second because, because it was just such a good movie, and it was something that I revisited. But if you could, when you think about the snow that's coming down, that stuff that Val loves, and you look out there and sometimes you see it and it's just white out, and if you don't have to get in it, it looks beautiful. Right?
Yes.
If you don't have to go outside and you're just looking at it through the window, it's just beautiful. And we talk about this thing of God and how God, there's no lack, there's no limitation in God. And as we look out and we see all the snowflakes, and we know that every snowflake is a distinct, separate snowflake. They all have different patterns and everything. And the same is true with us. And those snowflakes, they flutter down from the sky and they fall to the ground. They make these, this wonderful blanket of whiteness out there. And, and then it's gone. It does its season and it's gone. If we could use that as a metaphor in our life and know that each one of us are created special and unique, and we have our time to make our flow through this universe, and then when it's done, it's like we can just bless it knowing that we have done our season. And so I just think about it because this whole universe is that same way. If you could just look at I know we can't see the air around us, but the very space in which we occupy is pregnant with possibilities. It's as if we live in a universe that responds to us because there is something out here that we call God. I mean, people call it by many names, but it is this pregnancy in the air that is just waiting for your command for what it's to do. It's like, use me. God is saying, angels are saying, everything is saying, use me. And yet and still, we don't, right? And I'll tell you why, because I'm a victim of this as myself, right? We have these things called issues. I mean, it's amazing. And it's as if we have learned from the time we were little kids that our issues seem like they're so much bigger than our blessings, right? We look and we've got issues in our jobs, with other people, our relationships, our finances, our health. We got all of these issues and issues and issues. And if we focus in on our issues, it only gives us more of these issues. If we recognize our consciousness has power, the more we focus in on what we perceive to be our issues, the more the issues seem to get bigger and to grow. Now, I'll tell you how, because I know how I am. When I get on the phone with my girlfriends, right, we're not necessarily talking about the good stuff, right? We get on the phone and we start kibitzing about our issues. You know what he said to me? Do you know what he did? Girl, my car, I had to get it. We talk about our issues. And if we recognize that what we talk about grows, what we give our energy to grows, then if what you're doing all the time is giving your issue, your powers over to these issues, then those things get bigger and bigger. Ernest Holmes said that no person whose entire time is spent in the contemplation of limitations can escape from those limitations, because that's what we're focused on. So the more you focus on what's wrong, the more you get what's wrong. Now, there is this desire in all of us to transform our lives, to have it get better. But if all we're focusing on is what we think we don't have, where we can't go, what we didn't do, all of those things, if we continue to focus on those, that's all we will get. So I started thinking about this movie I went to see, and this was a few months ago. It's called Queen of Kuwaitu. Is that how you say it? Katwe. Okay. Queen of Katwe. Did anybody see that movie? It was a fabulous movie, right? It was a fabulous movie. And I started thinking about the thing that happened in the movie. Now, in the movie, there was this little young girl, and they lived in this slum in Katwe, right? They lived in this slum, and it seemed as though their entire time was spent in survival mode. Survival mode meaning that, some of us have been in survival mode before, right? That all of your energy is expended in just trying to survive, right? It's about, man, how we get some food, how do we pay the rent, how do we do this, how do we do that? It's no getting over. It's no seeing the possibilities, because we're in survival mode. And survival mode by necessity means that we're fighting, trying to make something happen. And the more we fight trying to make something happen, it means that what we're doing is we're focusing in on the issue. If you can't get any further than what you're focused in on, if you can't get any further than those issues, then, you can't get anywhere. So this lady, she was sending her kids out to sell corn, and she go out into the street and sell corn. And so they were going car to car and person to person, trying to make money to pay rent. They ended up getting kicked out of this little hut that they lived in. That was no bigger than your bathroom. It's like her and her 3 kids, I think there was, that were living in this little bitty hut. And 4 kids. She had 4. And they were living in this little bitty hut, and they ended up getting kicked out, locked out of their hut. And so they had to find some place to live. So her kids went to one of these community centers, and in the community center they would feed the kids, but they also started teaching them the game of chess. And when she found out that her children were going to this community center to learn chess, she automatically got suspicious of the man that was teaching them the chess, went down there, pulled her kids out, beating them and saying, you get out here and I need you to sell this stuff so that we can eat, And so what ended up happening was that she was caught up in the struggles of her life. So many of us are caught up in the struggles of our life that we can't see above and beyond what is possible. when Jesus did this thing, he used to say, look up to the hills from whence cometh your strength, right? That means we got to lift up in consciousness instead of staying stuck where we are. We got to lift it up and see the possibilities. We hear this all the time, but because we're stuck in survival mode, we never get there. If I am sitting there and I'm focused in on what somebody did wrong or what's wrong in my life, I can't see the possible. I'm praying, God, my highest and my best, give that to me, my highest and my best. Because sometimes we don't even know what it is because we're so stuck in the contemplation of our limitations. I tell you, I drive down the streets. I was telling Alan the other day, I drive my car down the street. And it seems like every time I hit some potholes, my rims are bent. I can't figure out a way that, that this is not having an impact on my little car. It's just crazy. But now I understand that if I go, maybe 10 miles out, I might have a different experience. But because of where I'm at, the limitations of my environment, they cause me to have these issues with my tires. So I know that as long as I am in whatever limitation it is, I'm at the effect of those limitations. What we all have to do is to lift our sights higher. Not just, a place to live, but the divine right place for me to live, right? Yeah. What's good for me. And I don't even know what that is. But I know that there is something out there that is responsive to my words. Yeah. It's responsive to the thoughts and the desires of my heart. This woman, when she's in this movie, she is so focused in on we just have to survive that she couldn't see beyond that. And so she didn't want her kids out there trying to, learn how to play chess. She didn't want anything else because what she needed to do was survive. Until all of a sudden she got a clue. There was a whole lot to the story. It went in and out, and her daughter got a chance to, to leave the slums and go someplace else and see how other people were living and eating food that, oh my God, is this how other people eat, And as soon as her vision was lifted about what's possible, and those people are not different from me, those people are not separate from me. But what was interesting is that she was in this tournament at one point, and this is based on a true story. She was in this tournament at one point, and she's sitting there, and she's not playing her best. And everybody is there, and they're doing their thing, and all of a sudden, her teacher stood up, and he said, "You belong here. You belong here." A lot of us have desires, and we don't believe that we're worthy of those things. We don't believe that what other people have, we can have. We don't know that our gift is for us. And so even though it's our gifting, we still want to throw it away because we don't quite believe. God is lensing itself through you. God shows up in the world as you. It's not something else, not somebody else, not somewhere else. It's as you. And you have to believe that you are here at this time for this purpose. Such a time as this is what brought you about. And so you're here. And there's a calling on your life. It's not for somebody else to come and give you permission. Your teacher is not supposed to give you the permission. Your parents don't give you the permission. Reverend don't give you the permission. You show up because God has already given you the permission because you're here. Yes. Right? Yes. And so once we understand that, then we get to be different in the world. We get to show up different in the world. Your message, your song, your talent, whatever it is that is you, is for you to bring to the fold. But now it's a responsibility that we each must have to change our own consciousness, to change what it is that we do. It's amazing because I started thinking about all the things that need to die within us in order for something new to be birthed, in order for something new to come out. And so once we recognize that we've got to let go of what was in order to accept what is, I had to let go of a whole bunch of stuff through the process of a year, or the process of the last 6 months. You let go of things. And as you let go of things, new things emerge. What stuff are you holding on to that's not serving you? Yes.
I believe. I'm thanking you for that comment because it goes in with what Paul says, I die daily. Mm-hmm. And when Paul recognized in his travel that in learning new things, the old stuff must leave, mm-hmm. which is why the scripture tells us that he says, I die daily.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So for each of us, there's something that we have to let go of in order to accept what's new, right? What's trying to emerge in our lives. There's something that we've got to let go of. I know for me, I had to let go of my dad's image of what I was supposed to be like, my mama's image of how Sandy is supposed to be. They all had stuff. And I wanted to be a good girl, right? I wanted to be their image of what they thought was a good girl. But that wasn't Sandy's image. I'm Sandra, right? And that's not my image of who I am. That's not what I wanted from my life. And a lot of times what we do is we get caught up and stuck in that paradigm. I mean, could you imagine had that little girl not had the belief or developed the belief into herself that said, yes, I can, that stepped out of the slums and went and played this stuff. And so when, this guy came and he picked him up and he says, I want to show you something. And he takes him out to this new house that's nowhere near the slums, that's got rooms in it, that has a door on it. And they're looking like saying, whose house is this? And he was like, it's yours. It's yours. Because by her developing her talents and being who she was in the world, she was able to take her family out of that situation. But as long as we are only seeing what's around us, as long as we're only doing what we've always done, we don't get there. So it becomes this thing of, I've got to let go of this in order to embrace something else. I love the example of a trapeze artist, when they go swinging through the air, right? They go swinging through the air. And in order to catch onto that next pole or to that next position, they first have to let go of one in order to grab onto the other. A lot of times we don't want to let go. I mean, we'd be swinging in the air and get nowhere. So it becomes this thing of, how do I move to the next spot? I ask myself that. How do I move to the next level for me? And all of us have to be about that. We're coming up to a brand new year, right? You guys are about to cross. I am about to cross over with you, right, into 2017. 2017 doesn't have to look like 2016. We can set something new in motion. Last night I was talking to some friends and they were saying, well, what are you going to do if the worst happens, because we were talking about our new presidency and the things that are going on. Well, what are you going to do if the worst happens? And I'm thinking, like, going to do? I was like, right now we're speaking our word. Right now we're living. We're in the isness of this moment, not in the wasness or the going to be, in the isness of this moment. And we're setting things in motion right now. What are we setting in motion when we focus in on fear? What is it that we're setting in motion when we focus in on the limitations and all the, the frightful stuff, lions and tigers and bears out to get? What are we focusing in on? What about the possibilities? What about love? What about all of that stuff? If we focus in on those things, then we'll draw something new out. We'll be able to set something new in motion. I love it when we start to think about the power of the moment. When I think about this, the activeness of the universe, because I tell you, when I think about it, I think that there is just like this energy out there that is just waiting to take form and take shape as what it is that you desire. There is something out there that is totally responsive to you and is saying yes. But you have to ask yourself, what are you thinking into it? You guys, we all have a testimony. Right? We are not the people that we were just, a month ago. Not even yesterday. Hey, I think I gained 3 pounds overnight. Sugar is not good for me, right? It's not. And so I'm not even the person I was yesterday. I'm like looking at the scale and I'm saying, ooh, did I swallow somebody? What happened? So we change daily. Yeah, we die daily. We change daily. We don't have to be our old selves anymore. You guys, there is, when I say that this universe is pregnant and it's responsive, it is waiting for your definite thought, your definite idea. Not your maybe, not, you're hopeful. It's waiting for your definite thought, right? There is nobody and nothing holding anything against you, right? And when you perceive somebody is holding something against you, I'd be about the business of blessing them, right? I got to bless them. Because what I need to do is make sure that I'm not, because each person here, we are each other's saviors, right? To the degree that I release you, I'm also releasing me. I'm also releasing that energy. So there's this story, Jesus in the Bible. Jesus was, there was this woman and they drugged this woman into the temple and they was like, hey, Jesus, this woman here was caught in the very act of adultery. It's our law, it's our custom to stone her, right? Jesus was, says he was writing on the ground. He stands up and he looks around. And he goes back to writing and he says, let he who is without sin cast the first stone. Right? So as he's writing, I don't know, what is he writing now? Forgiveness? Is he writing mercy? Is he writing about the unmerited favor of God? I don't know what he was writing. But when he looks back up, he looks around and he looks at the lady and he says, where are your accusers? Because one by one, they had to recognize that everybody, all of us have sinned and come short. That's what they say, right? We've sinned and come short. But we don't carry that around with us. The wonderful thing is that we are forgiven. And to the degree that we forgive, Jesus tells us, how many times do we forgive? 7 times 70? Yeah. To the degree that we forgive and we release, we are also forgiven and releases. God, forgive me my trespasses as I forgive those who trespass against me. Right? And so as we release, as we let go of all that stuff, we are new creations. We are new creatures. We get to be different. By the renewing of our minds, we get to be different. So if we wake up every morning like, Lord, use me. If we wake up every morning in letting go of yesterday and all those other ideas. Because y'all, they talk about that. They've written books about baggage, right? And how we set our bags over to the side of our beds before we go to bed. Lord, please take these from me. And when we wake up in the morning, we go over there, we look, they right there where we left them. We pick them up and we carry them on into our next day and our next, next friendships, next relationships, and then we sit up there and say, well, you see, I got these issues. I just have trust issues. I got this issue. I got that issue. Rather than allowing ourselves to be brand new. Rather than allowing ourselves to be renewed in how we think and how we see things. I can't look and say at every instance, that something was, just because this person over here did this, then the next person, I can't think that. I have to allow everybody to be brand new, just like, I can be brand new. I learn things. And just because I did that before doesn't mean I'll do it again, because I learned something through the process. And so as we hold on to stuff, as we have that inability to let go, to that extent, we can't accept anything new. All of this stuff is about our growth and about our good. I was telling Alan on the way over here, because, as much as I would like snow, I'm not a big fan of it, right? And as we're driving down the street, I was saying, I used to catch the bus to work because I was working downtown. And I used to catch the bus to work. And so I have a tendency to be late, a little late, y'all know. And so I used to have to, and I always tell people, even though the bus stop was right at the end of my street, it seemed like I weighed so much less when I had to, catch the bus, because I always had to run. So anyways, like a first snow out there, and here I go, and I leave the house, and I'm, my mother used to say, walk up. So I'm walking, up, like, kind of doing a little fast, thing, getting there. And then I see the bus, and I guess the bus driver sees me because I caught the bus every day. So here I go, I take off in this little kind of run, and I'm running to catch the bus. The little girl run. I'm running down the street like, oh, I gotta come, I'm coming. I run to the bus, and just as I get to the bus, the idea is to run and kind of step onto the bottom step, right? But somehow, this day, I figured, let me slow down, and I started trying to slow myself as I approached the bus, and instead of me stopping, I slid, and the next thing I know, I'm up under the bus at the step, looking into the bus at the bus driver with I just caught the step, the last step of the bus, and I'm looking on there, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh. People had to come off the bus to pull me from under the bus so I could get onto the bus. And it's so funny because, so many times people get all bent out of shape about stuff like that, But what I find is you just got to laugh, right? And so I get on the bus and I'm like, welcome to winter, y'all, because there's nothing else you can do but laugh at yourself through the stuff, right? Sometimes we take life way too seriously. We get caught up and we think that somehow, this whole thing, is saying something about who we are. We got to laugh and we got to let go. We got to sit there and say, this was the lesson I was supposed to learn. Whatever that may be. And keep it moving. Because you guys, if we get stuck, anger and unforgiveness, all of that stuff is so constrictive, right? When you get angry, you tighten up, right? Your body, your jaw gets tight, your body gets tight, your blood pressure goes up. We got to learn how to loosen up and let go. And just let God. All of us have been through some stuff. And all of us, as much as we'd like to throw stones at somebody else, at a certain point, we were that lady too. And so to the degree that we can let go and move on, to the degree that we could say, yeah, I had issues with this, but I don't anymore. To the degree that we can heal ourselves and look above and beyond, we will be healed. This whole thing and the way it works is just great. There is a power that is responding to you, to your consciousness. It's one of our principles. We know this stuff. And so even in the midst of your survival mode, that fight or flight mode, in the midst of all of that stuff, if we could just look up and say, you know, what's possible? You know, thank you, Father, because I don't know. You know, I don't know. Thank you for a vision for what's possible for my life, right? And as we move into that, we can forgive all the small-minded stuff that we had before and step into the new possibilities of today. I tell you, it works. Yes. It works if you work it, right? Yes. Oh, my goodness. Yes. Any comments before I pray us out? Anybody have anything that they want to share? I know you do. I know you do. I can feel it. It's not going to reach? Well, come on up here, Chickapoo. Aren't you so fabulous?
At this time of year, you know, I feel blessed and all that good stuff. And how we take little things, we perceive them to be little, for granted. One of those I can remember some years ago. Dr. Jackson's family, you know, Dr. Jackson and his wife, and my husband and I were in the Philippines. And the most interesting thing, we had to go to the bathroom, okay? in the airport.
Say it ain't so.
And we walked in and we take things like paper for granted, as in toilet paper. And can you imagine walking into the bathroom, and you have to do more than number one, sometimes number two, but all I needed was a number oneer. And we are given a square of tissue, like, what the heck? You know, and I said, I need more than that, I'm from America. So they looked at us and gave me 2 pieces. So, you know, it did the trick. But I'm just saying, you sort of fold it over. Times to be blessed. And I bring that up because I heard another story last night. And Michael is 25 months old, 2 years and 1 month young. And he sees for the first time in his life, he recognizes Santa Claus. Santa Claus! Oh, Santa Claus! Oh, Santa Claus! Santa Claus! Mommy, Santa Claus! So, what Santa Claus does for Mikey is gives him this bag. He gets this bag. Thank you! And Mikey takes the bag like this. He's taking the bag. And they ask him, Mikey, what do you have in the bag? Well, he can't go down like this anymore. Oh! Red paper! Paper! Oh, I have paper!
Oh, that's so cute. That's so cute. It's the little things, huh? It's the little things. That's so cute. So we all have to ask ourselves, what are we thankful for, right? And to the degree, you know, that wherever we are, you know, whether we're in the slums of our lives, you know, they say that this idea of heaven and hell is really a matter of perspective, right? It's just a shift. Did I tell you guys the story about the little girl who was looking out the window? Did I tell you guys that? There's this little girl, because I do the radio show, so I don't know what I share on the radio thing or, you know, in here. But there's this little girl who's looking out the window, and she's looking, and she's like tearing up, and because her father and her brother are outside burying her dog, the family dog. And she's out there, and she's just woo-hooing, and she's crying as she looks out on this, you know, this horrible sight. And and they've dug the grave and everything like that. And as her father looks up and he sees her and looking out the window, he goes in the house. He leaves his son there to do the rest of the work. He goes in the house and he gets his daughter and he says, "Sweetheart, come here, come here." And so he leads her down the hallway and shows her to another window. And when she looks out the other window, she sees all the flowers that her and her mom had planted, and they had bloomed, and all of a sudden, and the tears that she had been crying before, looking out one window, now all of a sudden she gets a new vision, and now she's happy and laughing and looking at all the stuff that had been done before. And he said, "See, sweetheart, we're just looking through the wrong window." And sometimes we have to recognize that in our lives. Sometimes we're looking through the wrong window. And if we just choose. Yes, we get to choose. Every day we're at choice. We get to see what we're looking at and how we see the things that we're looking at. When my mother passed, I couldn't even be upset. I was so thankful and grateful that she had been in my life. And so for all of us, we have to choose how we see things. We get to choose the thoughts that we focus on. So there's a lot, I'm so thankful for Alan. There's a lot to be cheery about during this season, not just the snow. It's a lot to be cheery about and to be thankful for. So let us pray. So Father, Mother God, in this moment, I just give thanks. I give thanks that this is a responsive universe, that you respond to us to the slightest thought that we have. And God, to the degree that we get to clear out our stuff and come fully into the moment, you say yes to us. So God, I'm thanking you for the highest and best in our lives. God, even when we don't know it, whatever the highest and best may be, we give thanks for that, God. We give thanks for healed relationships. We give thanks for healed thought processes. We give thanks for a healing in our bodies and in our souls, God. We give thanks that we let go of all the small-minded stuff, God, and we come fully into this moment for you to do the highest and best in our lives, for you to work the highest and best with the talents that we've been given. And all the things that are here. God, let our lives be a blessing to everyone who comes in contact with us. God, we thank you for the people that are drawn to us. We give thanks for a successful season. God, we just give thanks for all that is. We give thanks for this place, Agape Spiritual Center, and this church that houses us. God, we thank you that here in this space, we are a blessing and a light to all those that come before us. I give thanks, God, that we're healed from all of the stuff that we had before. That all of our issues are nothingness because we recognize our oneness with you. So God, in this moment, I just accept our divine good, knowing that it is done by right of consciousness right here and now. And so it is. Amen, y'all. Amen.